It's you to start off by telling me sort of your history with WSET.
Wow, I got quite a history. It goes way back to probably 1982. I actually came up and did some weekend sports anchoring in 1982 before I got a full-time job here in 1983, in August of 83. I actually met my future wife, Regina, here in 1983. Took a while for us to get married. We got married in 89, in July of 1989. We had our son Ryan a little more than 2 years later. So I've had quite a history here. Got to work with some amazing people over 37 years and just great memories of working here at WSET.
And you also met some celebrities here and there.
Oh yeah, yeah, some amazing people. Howard Cosell, I always remember interviewing him at it was the Holiday Inn Select downtown. Got to sit down with him. That was a lot of fun. And all the big NASCAR drivers, Dale Earnhardt Sr. and Richard Petty and all the big time guys. College basketball, college football, just amazing celebrities that you get to meet working in this job.
I think the Howard Cosell one is the funniest one.
Oh yeah.
Made you just a little squirmy, but
yeah.
But I mean, it looked like it was a lot of fun. Well, you talk about starting here in 1983. I mean, we felt like, I guess, that it was, we're doing a kind of looking back at the history of WSET, where it started, very, very differently. And when you came here, you were on typewriters. Talk a little bit about the technology when you came here.
Typewriters. When they took my typewriter away, I wanted to cry because we were going from typewriter to computer, and I'm not technologically savvy at all. So it was a tough adjustment for me because when I get used to doing something a certain way, I like to continue to do that. So if you change me up, I'm in trouble. So when we had to go to computers, that was a big change for me, a big move that took me a while to adjust. When I started here, when we would do a story in Danville, we could not just send it across. We had to actually drive the video back from Danville to Lynchburg for it to make the air. Then a little bit later, we were able to microwave a signal. We would drive up to White Oak Mountain outside of Danville with a microwave truck. We would send the signal to, I believe it was Thaxton Mountain, from White Oak to Thaxton Mountain, back here to the station. And we went through a lot of steps just to make sure that the video got back all the way to Lynchburg so it could run on the air. And now you look at technology and you just do a story and email the story and it's there like in a minute. So it's incredible. And
it wasn't always reliable when you used to have to do all that bouncing back.
Oh.
There were many times it didn't make it.
Yeah, there were so many times when there was a bad signal or the weather was bad and you lost out because it just wasn't going to happen that day. Bad luck.
And getting the video itself, I mean, huge packs and cameras, everything was separate. And it was these, were you here with film?
I just missed film, thank goodness. But I was here when we would go out to a football game and you would have your camera on your shoulder, but you also had to carry a record deck with you. So you're trying to run up and down the field and you've got this big old record deck, you've got a camera on your shoulder. It was a challenge. It was a big challenge.
Like 40, how much would that?
I don't remember how much it weighed, but it would weigh you down.
Yeah.
And now, thank goodness, the cameras have gotten a lot smaller. They started out as big monsters, and now they're a lot smaller and so much easier to carry on your shoulder.
Oh, look at this. I mean,
yeah.
Everything you need is right there.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, talk about some of the people you worked with. I'm going to be talking to Michelle. Right, and
yep.
That goes back, I know, it's been, 20-something years since she's worked here, but talk a little bit about the people who are here, especially I'm looking kind of in the 80s, and as the technology changed.
The first folks I remember are the folks like Charles Middleton, the weatherman, Susan Garrett, Jeff Taylor, of course, a legend in Lynchburg, Jay Allen, wow. So many people to remember. those are the ones that quickly come to mind. Steve Feynman, who I worked with in sports.
Yeah.
You know, the more recent people, you know, Dave and you and Michelle and
Yeah.
Noreen and Mark and just, you know, George.
You always seemed so happy. What would you say was the toughest part of your job? Because you sometimes had to do it all. Let's be honest, you had to do it all. But you always seemed just so excited to be doing it. Was there a part that was just really hard?
Trying to get everything in 3 minutes of time. It was tough because you had to make decisions on, well, if I don't cover this, people are going to be upset, you know, but I only have a certain amount of time to put everything into a sportscast. So that was always the big juggling act, was trying to get everything into that short amount of time. And a lot of times getting it all done before the deadline was another big challenge.
And I think, Dennis, you're kind of famous for doing the slide into the desk when they're yelling 10 seconds.
Yeah, I many times I can remember being on the other side of the room and I'd hear 10 seconds and I have to run over, sit down at the desk. And a lot of times it snuck up on me because by the time I got to the desk and sat down, I was out of breath and I'm gasping for air and I'm trying to talk. You know, I'm seeing the red light go on the camera like, okay, Dennis, start talking. And I'm like,
I kind of also remember this reaching for the mic and doing that.
Yeah, that happened a couple of times. Yeah, you know, you think in your mind, okay, I'm here in time, and you forget to put that mic on, and you have to say, hold on just a second as I slip my mic on.
Just a
very indiscreetly. Yep.
Yeah. So let me see here. Did you watch? Obviously you grew up in Danville. You watched, I assume, WSET.
Yes.
Could you have ever imagined you'd be working here?
No clue. You know, I can remember growing up as a kid watching football games with my dad on Sunday afternoon. I always thought it was a neat job if I could have a job where I actually sat and watched football games and and talked about the games. And you know, it's a little bit different. The job here is a little bit different, a little bit more work involved, but you kind of get to watch some good football games and basketball games and baseball and tennis and everything else, and it's a great way to make a living.
And you never left. You never said,
No.
time to move to Richmond or the bigger places.
No, never wanted to. Never wanted to. Once I got here in Lynchburg, I just felt like it was a great place to raise a family, and my wife, you know, had a good job, and we just were real happy here in Lynchburg and never really had any desire to move away.
Well, nobody would have wanted that anyway.
Well, I don't know about that. There probably would have been some people that gave me a free ticket to go somewhere and just stay there.
I don't think so. Well, tell me, do you remember what were your biggest stories? I mean, you know, you were covering sports. What do you remember as just some of the ones that you were like, this is more, this goes beyond just my sports cast. This is affecting more people.
Oh, wow. You know, the big time stories that I always remember the national championship game that Virginia Tech played Florida State at the end of the 1999 season. That was big. That was in New Orleans. We went down. We did a week worth of pregame coverage, so that was a lot of fun. I remember UVA basketball's run to the national championship. Got to see an incredible Elite Eight game in Louisville that I will never forget, the one that went to a few overtimes, and it was just an amazing game. But you think about some of the stories you do with individuals that are not just your ordinary, you know, game score kind of stories. You do a story maybe on someone who's got muscular dystrophy, or somebody that's kind of beaten the odds and you know, is able to enjoy taking part in a sport and stuff like that. Those are the ones that kind of stick in your mind a lot. So I've been able to do a lot of stories like that, and just those are the ones that really ring out in your mind when you think about things that you were able to do in your time. But my favorite part of the job, and I've told people this a lot, I love covering high school sports. I love going to high school football games on Friday night and running down the field with your camera and getting in position so you know you would be there for when the big play happened. So always enjoyed covering those high school sports. That was my favorite.
You're kind of famous for a saying that you had about one of the high school teams.
Oh, the team from Appomattox County.
Yeah, what was that?
It was the Raiders. I love covering the Raiders.
That, and what was something else you like to do right after the Masters?
Oh, I like to wear the green jacket. I always wore, I had a green jacket from, I guess, probably the 80s that I bought. And I thought it would be neat to kind of give the Masters tournament a little extra recognition. So I would always wear that green jacket on the Thursday, the first day of the tournament.
Oh, it was before, okay.
Yeah, so that was my thing. I would break out the green jacket on Thursday, the first day of the Masters tournament.
That's how I knew what time of year it was. I was like, oh, Dennis is in green. It must
You know,
be.
and that Masters jacket there for a while got a little bit tight. I kept putting it on year after year, and I'm thinking, this thing is shrinking or something. It's getting a little bit tighter.
That must be it. Well, that needs to be like behind glass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still have that in my closet.
Hold on.
Still have it. Still have it.
We may be asking for that. Also, you were here a lot of times. Unfortunately, like the news sometimes took over sports, and we would have big storms, and that would happen.
Yep.
That'd be a little frustrating, but of course, that was what was going on.
It was, but that's the way the news business goes. It was frustrating that you would be here and you would put together a show, and you think you've got some really good stuff that you want to show viewers, and then something happens like right at the last minute. 5:45, a big storm or something happens, and everybody kind of goes into wild mode, and we're going to drop sports tonight. We gotta go out and do this. So that would be a little frustrating, but it's part of the business. You understood.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You've been active in this community. Talk a little bit about what you've done while you were at the station, and also now what you're doing out in the community.
I like to stay involved. I like to go out and meet people. Done stuff with Special Olympics. Always like to work with their softball tournament that they have in Bedford every year. I would go down for the opening ceremonies and be a part of that, and just I just like going out and meeting as many people as I can, and still a little bit involved in sports now. I'm working at a radio station in town, WLNI, on a sports talk show with Rich Roth. So that allows me to stay connected with sports a little bit. It's a lot different than my job that I had here at the television station, but it allows me to stay involved, and I still feel a little bit connected to the community. And we actually got to do high school sports this past year. We did football games, so that was a lot of fun for me.
And I had one right on the. Tell me, are there any people that you talked about the people you remember working with here? Just going through. Noreen and I brainstormed to think we're going to be using your stuff a lot in our show, and I'm just trying to find some other things here. I had a thought here. Let's say. Oh, you had some bloopers over the years. Do you remember any of them specifically?
Yeah. Which ones you talking about?
Maybe 2 or 3 that stand out in your mind.
Of course, the ones where I couldn't talk. When I would get there, I'd be out of breath, and I'd try to talk, and nothing was coming out. I do remember one time when a fly got into the studio and was just buzzing all around my head, of course, during sports. And it's hard to talk when you have a fly that's right around your mouth, because you're afraid, if you open your mouth, that fly is going to take the opportunity and jump in your mouth. So I will never forget that night. Yeah. There was also a night when I was doing a sad story about someone who had died. I believe it was in the Chicago Bears organization, and we ran the wrong video. I was expecting it to go to a soundbite about talking about this person who had died. Instead, a group of monkeys running in the woods came up. And
how do you handle that?
Well, not very well that night. We stayed on the video for some reason longer than we should have. It felt like forever. It might have been like 4 or 5 seconds, but I had to come back and say, well, obviously that was not the video we had hoped to show you. We apologize for that mistake, but it was, I'm thinking, why?
Of all stories.
Of all stories, this is a serious story. Why are we showing monkeys running around in the woods? This is not good.
That's called live TV.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's, and let's see here. So, you know, this is our 70th anniversary.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, gosh, I got to think 70 years. What year is we going to air? Help me, Dan. 50.
Let's see,
Well, this
it'd
would
be
make it
1953 would, yeah, be 70
53.
years ago. Yeah.
So 20 years after this station opened, you were here. I mean, is it hard for you to believe how long WSET has been around and kind of the impact we've had here?
It really is. Yeah, I mean, it's been a long, long time. And I guess we started out as a radio station and went into a television station here. But yeah, incredible history. It's been 70 years.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've been here, gosh, more than half the life of the TV station, more than half of my life was spent here at WSET. But really, fabulous years. I got to work with some amazing people and wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah. We missed you, Dennis.
I miss being here.
You're one of those names that's right up there with all these ones that, you know, were like, who were kind of the, you know, you held this station together many times. We always say Dennis, because you were just, you just always had such a good attitude, and it seemed like you just loved your job. I mean, you know, we all like our jobs. We all come in early, but we always, every time you were in here and had the opportunity to work, it looked like you'd rather be nowhere else. You know, this was the place you wanted to be at that moment.
It was, and I spent a lot of time here. Maybe because I like my job, but you know, I would stay after work a lot of times just to kind of get a head start on the next day and just try to do things to get ready for the next day. But yeah, I enjoyed being here. I really did. It was a job, but it felt more like kind of something I would want to do, just kind of a extra hobby, if you will.
I was going to say, I remember I took a picture of you. I would come in the mornings, and I have a picture of Dennis standing next to the clock, and it's 6 a.m. and he's just still finishing up his day.
Hey, I remember a few of those nights.
We'll be back here in 6 hours.
I remember a few of those nights.
Sports, we say, Dennis, why don't you just come do this live? Because you're here. Instead of running your package with you, we got you here. We'll do that. Morning sports. Yeah. I'm just looking to see anything else. We're talking about the early years. Let's see. The news teams. We talked about some of the people that were through here. You know, Kim Frazier, gosh, Jay Allen, you talked about her. Matt Ferguson. Oh yeah, well, and another thing, going back to sort of the technology, you remember back when you go out in the news car and there was not calling on a cell phone. You'd have to remember calling the radio back.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That seems pretty backwards now.
No kidding. And some of the news cars that we had, thank goodness they've gotten better through the years.
They couldn't get worse, some of them.
Yeah, you were wondering if, you know, you go out on a story and you were wondering if you were going to get back safely.
And you didn't want to go over the mountain.
No,
sometimes.
no.
Let's see here. We got you, Dennis. Where are they now? Bloopers. I think that's it. Yeah, Dennis, thank you so much for coming in.
Absolutely.
You are just such a part of this station and this history. So many people still miss you so much. I think it was the glass game, or well, real quickly, this is what I want to ask you. You've gotten some honors over the years from the community for what you've done.
I have. I've been fortunate enough to be put in some area sports Hall of Fames. Danville Community College, where I went my first 2 years of college and then transferred to Virginia Tech. The Appomattox County Sports Hall of Fame. The Virginia Sports Hall of Fame recently. That was kind of a odd situation. We were supposed to be inducted in 2020. And of course, there was this thing called COVID that kind of got in the way. And so we had to wait a couple of years to actually be inducted. So the class of 2020 was actually inducted this past summer in 2022. So we had to wait our turn, but you know, finally we were able to get into the Sports Hall of Fame. That was a really fun weekend, fun night for me. But yeah, I just feel blessed that I've had a chance to work with a lot of different people and work with a lot of organizations around the area. It's been a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
You made it so much fun to work here, Dennis. So
Well,
thank you.
always a pleasure working with you
Well, I'm
guys.
so glad you're still here, so we can still, we always call, where's Dennis? We call on Dennis.
Dennis enjoys it being around here too much.
So glad.
Yeah, this is home.